Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about underglazes. Underglazes are very different than overglazes. They come in jugs like this underneath the sink. These are overglazes behind me. Overglazes have glass in them, and so they are going to melt that colored glass over the whole part of your form. Underglaze is a little different. It does not have glass in it, and it almost functions like a paint. So you could sgraffito with it, which means that you are using it before it gets bisque fired. You paint a layer on, wait for it to dry, and then scratch through. But you can also use it after you bisque fire, and that's what I want to talk about today, because some of our spoon rests have very cool textures in it, but you might want to bring that texture out by applying some underglaze and wiping it off so that the underglaze remains in the crevices of your texture. So this would obviously need to be coated in an overglaze after you apply underglaze. So you have to kind of think about which color you want to put over it. So if I took a bunch of time getting my underglaze to bring out my texture and it's looking beautiful, I wouldn't want to use a really dark and heavy overglaze that would just cover that right up. I might even choose to use a clear overglaze that just puts a clear coat of glass on top of it to make it food safe so that I could see the detail underneath. But you might want to check the test tiles to make sure that that overglaze you're using with this process is a little bit translucent so that you can still see your cool design. So what I do for underglaze is I make sure that it's well mixed. I'm going to pour a little bit of this in a ramekin that I can then pour back in so I don't waste any. You can mix underglaze. Let's say I wanted like a yellow-green or something, but then we don't want to waste it. So you either mix exactly the tiny amount that you need, or you share with a friend, but we kind of don't want to mix it a ton because then we would waste the rest of that because you can't pour it back in. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a paintbrush. I'm going to paint over the top, and I'm mainly focusing on getting it into the crevices of my leaf texture that I've applied here. You don't have to use a green, maybe a black would look nice too. Any color is fine. But I'm really just trying to get it into the crevices. Alright, now it dries super fast. It'll take like 10 seconds and it's already kind of dry. So I'm going to set that aside, and I have myself a bowl of water with a sponge. And now I'm just going to wipe off enough that I'm wiping some off the surface, but not hard enough. I'm not being so rough, or my sponge is like barely damp, so that I don't wipe all of it off. I want it to remain in those little crevices. And what this will do is it will just bring out the texture of your leaf or whatever texture you've applied. And you'll be able to see that a lot better in the final firing. This is not a requirement. This is just one use of underglaze. If you are nervous that your texture is so shallow that you wouldn't be able to see it at the very end. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So you can see that it stayed in all the little veins, and when I go to put an overglaze on top of this, I am just making sure that my overglaze is translucent enough that I can still see the little details that I just applied. And that is one very cool way to use underglaze.